Hello, everyone. Welcome to season two, episode two of the Remarkable Shift live series show, where elite identity meets elevated execution. And this isn't another leadership or personal development podcast. This is a platform where visionaries, trailblazers, and power players come to recalibrate their identity, amplify their voice, and dominate their industry with clarity, conviction, and class. I don't just develop leaders, I activate legacies. So if you're ready to command your space, embody your brilliance, and build something beyond a brand, let's shift remarkably. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. V, the Brilliant Solutionist. So let's get started with today's episode. So let's say this: performance got you here, but positioning will take you there. Like, you hear people say, what got you here won't get you there. Same thing. Performance got you here where you are, and it's great, but positioning will take you where you want to go. So many high performing professionals, even new entrepreneurs, are still trying to earn their authority. And let me tell you this: when I'm talking about these episodes, I am coming from a place where this was me, I was her, she was I. Okay. So I'm not just telling you all of this, to talk at you. I'm telling you from this place of I understand, I see you, and I don't want you to go through the same thing. Or if you're in this space, I want you to know that there is hope on the other side of that. All right, so now we can get back into everything that I put that disclaimer out there. And so you can't earn your authority at this point. You have to, excuse me, you have to do something totally different. And I know, and I'll tell you why we still are in that place of having to earn it. And it's not because you don't have it. It's because we've been conditioned to do that. We've been conditioned to be performers. And if you don't believe me, think about this. When you were in school, you were trained for it all through school, whether that was K-12, all the way through your undergrad, if you went the traditional route, or even any type of alternative certification or some kind of training, you've been conditioned to do that. You've mastered how to perform in your current careers or in a career that you have been in. So if you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, and you're like, I can't quite get over that hump, that's because you're still operating from a performance space where you were conditioned when you were in your career. And it worked because we were all applauded for how well we executed other people's expectations. Again, it all worked out because we were applauded by how well we executed other people's expectations. But at some point, performance becomes a prison. And if you're still grinding just to be seen, you're not building a legacy. And it's in fact, what you're doing, you're still chasing applause. And again, I know that too well. I know that feeling. And it can be disguised as, oh, you're doing so much. But why are you doing so much? It's because you're still performing and you're looking for the proverbial applause, which could come in the form of likes or, the number of sales or anything like that. You're still looking for that applause. And that's the prison that you've probably been operating in. And so we're going to dive into the professional performance trap, and we're going to talk about some facts. So most of us started strong. We were either the top of our class, we had high GPAs, we were in everybody's leadership roles, and we really looked good on paper. And I talk about that a lot in my book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, Becoming Professionally Powerful Through Personal Empowerment. And I have a section in there when looking good on paper doesn't feel so good anymore. And it worked for a while, but you get to a point where, wait, is this it? It's not doing the same thing as it was doing before. Because the higher you go, the less your performance matter. Now, let's not take that out of context. That doesn't mean you don't do anything, but it's the way that you operate and how you show up. But as you continue to go higher, and I've seen this, I've witnessed this, especially in the entrepreneur space, or even talking with people who have, skyrocketed their careers, it is not about performance at that point. It is about presence because your presence matter, clarity about what you do and who you are matters, and the relationships that you are supposed to be building, those matter. So you're not just being around people to network, you're making sure that you build those relationships. So positioning isn't about proving. And we hear that a lot. Excuse me. It's been like a buzzword, positioning. But it's not about proving yourself like, I worked hard for this and I'm going to show you that I earn it. That's not what this is all about. It is about placing yourself in conversations, the rooms, and the energy that match your next level. Not the energy where you are now, but you know where you're going on that next level. So it is about you having that type of energy before you even get to that level. So you position yourself. A while back I did a series talking about opulent opportunities. You place yourself in the pathway of those opportunities, because opportunities are always passing you by, but how are you positioning yourself? And you position yourself by being in a power seat moment. This is where you say and repeat after me, whether you're watching live or on the replay, or type it in the chat. I am no longer overworking to be seen. I am working differently to be undeniable. I'll say that again. I am no longer overworking just to be seen. I am working differently to be undeniable. And why is that? So why should we do that for the next level? Because it's not about performance. It is about a positioning play. And here's the truth. No one wants to say this out loud, but I am going to do that for you. That is why I am here to call you higher. A lot of you are coasting on your former grit. Now, I wrote a book, Embracing Grit for Greatness. A lot of you, and I can speak for myself, have 5 degrees, and it's been a while. Like, I've worked hard. I did all this, went all the way to higher education, from K-12 to higher education, and did all of this. So of course, transitioning over here to entrepreneurship should be a snap, and it should be easy. And then it's like, well, why not? It's because I was coasting on all of those accolades that got me to that level, and expecting just that hard work to transfer over into this new space. That's not how that works. And I guarantee that if we have a conversation, I can find out where you've been coasting on your former grit, because you did work hard in the beginning, and you don't want that work to go to waste, and it hasn't gone to waste. However, what I have noticed, what I have seen, what I have researched, what I have looked at and literally heard people say, when they didn't say these exact words, but they're saying, the words behind the words is they're trying to automate what actually requires attention. A lot of you, and I've done this, so that's why I'm talking to you like this. A lot of you've gotten to, you're successful, you have the title, you got the accolades, all of that. Now you're transitioning into this new space, and you feel like you don't have to learn anything. You don't have to work as hard anymore. You don't have to grind it out, because people's like, grind is overrated. Let me tell you what they're not telling you behind the scenes. They do grind behind the scenes. It's quietly grinding, so that they're putting those things in place so that they can automate, but they learned what to do so they can do that. You're just seeing the fruits of their labor. So you think that you need to just automate because that's what people are saying. But no, there are things that you don't know that you need your attention on, because if you're trying to build a team, you can't tell somebody what to do and you haven't done it, or you have no clue. All right, that was my little soapbox. So you're trying to automate what actually requires your attention. Now, we are talking about, your careers and your business, but you can apply this into multiple areas of your life as well. So you're outsourcing things that still need your ownership. Yes, outsourcing is great. You want to delegate. You are the leader of your life. Like, you tell things what to do. That is what you do. But there are some things that still need your ownership before you hand it off to someone else. And if you realize that you keep handing things off and things keep coming back to you, I know a lot of people that have these, VAs, because it's a thing to say, I got an assistant, I got a VA, I got this, I got that. But then they'll say, well, I had to go back and do this, or it's been harder to have the VA, or I have to go behind them, because you still are supposed to have ownership of what you're trying to outsource. So this isn't a judgment call. I'm not judging anyone's safe space, but it is a wake-up call for you to understand, like, why hasn't things shifted in my life, shifted in my business, shifted in my career? And you can see the next level where you're going, but why can't you get there? Because of some of these things here. So let's do an ecosystem energy check. I'm all about creating ecosystems. Like, you are the hub, and all things around you are an extension of you, but they all work together in the system. But I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, are you still doing high performer work, or are you just doing high output tasks? So let me ask you that again. Are you still doing high performer work, or just high output tasks? Number 2, have you confused content creation with brand development? And I smile, because for years I was cranking out content. You can go look on my YouTube channel. I have like over 950 videos last time I checked. My Facebook has a lot of videos. I'm on just about every platform. They got something on there. I got systems to create content. I have content for years. Okay. And I was like, why aren't things popping off? Because content creation isn't brand development. and let me know if that's resonating with you. And the third question to ask yourself is, are you showing up in the rooms to get seen or to plant authority? There are a lot of people out there who are just going to events, posting up on the gram and taking these videos to show you that, oh, look where I was, look where I was. But it's like, okay, what is that doing for you? Especially in the speaker space that I'm getting back out there. I love speaking, but how many of you have gone out there, you've been on the speaker circle, you've been doing all the things, and it's just about you being seen, but you haven't put that plate, you haven't been able to plant that authority. So yeah, you got all the flyers, you got all the promo things, but what do people still see you as an authority based on what you're trying to do? Now, I can speak to this because when I was a college professor, even as a doc student, and I didn't even understand this, and this is where I should have tapped into it. Jesus was trying to tell me what to do, and I was just like, no, but this is what they're saying, and Jesus was like, who are you gonna listen to? Right? And so I realized that when I was a doc student and then transitioned to a college professor, I was already doing these things, positioning myself as an authority. I was going to conferences, not just as an attendee, but as a speaker. I was writing articles. I was making sure that I was on boards. I was making sure that I was on these national committees to do different things. I was a part of a lot of different places, and everyone knew me because at that time, all my whole world centered around my dissertation. So everyone knew me for what I was talking about for my dissertation. So every chance I got, I was somewhere talking about things that aligned with my dissertation. And had I stayed on that track, I would have really been known in the field for this particular thing. Now, why didn't it resonate or like a light bulb moment for me to transfer that over here to entrepreneurship? I don't know. It took me a while, but I got it now. So I said all that to say is make sure that you're not just going places to be seen, but be sure that you're planting those seeds of authority, because positioning doesn't just happen. It doesn't matter if you just show up, do a lot of work, and post. You have to do high output tasks, you have to do brand development, and you have to plant authority. And that is not just about a funnel. I love a good funnel. I can help a lot of people create them, but that's not where the magic is. It is not a Canva post. I got a whole bunch of Canva posts in there, and I got even another account with a bunch of Canva posts in there, and I was Canvaing it up. Still, that it doesn't matter. It had nothing to do with positioning, and it's not a calendar invite. So what, you tell all these people to book a call with you? That is not positioning. It is all about conscious, consistent alignment of who you are, what you offer, and how you show up. So we have a new definition of elite work, and this isn't about burnout hustle. And on my LinkedIn page, I do a live series show over there. We just talked about the myth behind burnout. So go check out that episode over there as well. So again, this isn't about burnout hustle. It is about calibrated intensity. So this is not coasting. I know people say, oh, do this with ease, go, build this business, working 4 hours a day, or go from, the cubicle to CEO with ease, excuse me, type of thing, because we don't want to burn out. We don't want to stress out. That is causing you not to operate at your highest level. You do have to put some work in. You do have to be intense about things. Look at how you've gotten to where you are. You put in that work, you put in that effort, but just now it has to be more calibrated and more intention focused. So that is really what calibrated intensity is. Yes, I'm still going hard in the paint, but I'm strategically doing that, and I'm not giving myself the excuse of, oh, I'm just so burnt out and overwhelmed, I can't do anything, I can't do anymore, because you put things in place. So this is the kind of work that doesn't drain you. When you get into positioning, when you're in alignment, it actually refines who you are at your core. I'm not saying that you won't ever get tired, but it's a different type of, oh, I'm tired versus I am drained. I have experienced both. When I was, when I was when I was when I was writing my dissertation, there were times, and it was a group of us, and we called it the doc suite. We would be in that doc suite for hours and hours and hours working. Sometimes we talked, but it was really about the work that we were doing. We were up there 12, 14 hours a day on campus doing the work done. And we get a little sleepy, but then we would come back the next day and do it. But then, because that's what our focus was, so it was refining us, because we had a mission, we had a goal, and it made a lot of us stronger, people, and a lot stronger professionals. But then, there are times when I came to, doing entrepreneurship work, And it, I was like doing all the posting and things like that. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing this. I don't care. I'm so sleepy. I can't even function. My brain don't even work. And it's like, girl, you only did 2 videos kind of thing. And that's the difference between there's something that you can go work hard on and be tired, but not exhausted and drained like that. When you're working on things that you're out of alignment with, that's when you get drained sooner, quicker, faster. Let me know if that's resonating with you. Put something down in the chat below so that I know that this is ringing a bell, and or put an example down below. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to build an empire? Do you want to build a reputation? Do you want to build a movement? And you're saying yes to those things, then that means you have to bring the same level of grit that you had to climb whatever that mountain was before, whether it was in your career or another business, or you may have built something monumental before and you're trying to do something else. You have to put in that same level of grit. But this time you're doing it with a strategy. You're being more strategic. A lot of us were excelling in our careers, just hoping to prayer. I mean, there are things we like, when I was going towards tenure track, I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't know like really all the things that I know now. I was like, okay, I know I got to write. I know I got to speak. I know I got to consult. I know I got to go, put the lines on the Vita. And it was just kind of all over the place. But it wasn't anything like kind of strategic. Like I would do the same things. I'll put in the same level of work, but I will have a clear strategy. And that is what you have to do in this next season of your life, whether you're building your reputation, whether you're building a movement, whether you're building an empire, a business, a career, whatever it is, you still have to put in the grit, but it's now strategic grit. So if you want your voices to shape how rooms are going, you have to be in those rooms. And when I say that, you're going to laugh at this. You have to be in the rooms and not just watching the replay. How many of you are just like, you know what, I'll catch it on the replay. I'll watch something on the replay instead of showing up to something live. And this is where, what happened in 2020, it caused a lot of us to like fall back on our intensity a little bit. Before then, if you were you had to go to conferences, you had to go to events, you physically had to go to places and be present. Same thing if you were in school. Before everything was like online, you had to show up in the classroom. There was no replay. Nobody really was going to give you the notes, or if they did, you couldn't really trust the notes because like, you know what, I'd rather be in the room myself. Same thing applies. While I love virtual, I love a good replay. The replay should not be an excuse for you to be in the room. A lot of things that are happening virtually that I am realizing, because I used to be this, okay, I'll show it. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to put anything in the chat. And I had my reasons for doing that. But, it was like, okay, how do you want to be? Every time you show up in a virtual space, you need to show up like you were physically. And I'm half and half about camera on, camera off type of things, because sometimes if I go to when I used to go to big conferences, it just depends. Sometimes I would stand in the back and you wouldn't see me anyway because I just wanted to hear what was going on before I jumped in. So I personally, I'm 50-50 on the camera on, camera off. There are some people who say always have your camera on because that means you're walking with in the room with a bag over your head. I do get that, but for me, it just depends. But if it's a room where I know this is where my people are, or this is where I want to make a statement or a stance, or like, hey, I'm here, camera on, and I'm participating in the chat. I'm saying things, commenting and things like that, and not just watching not just say, oh, I passively watch on the replay, because things do happen when you're in the right rooms and you are participating. So you want to make sure that you're in the rooms both physically and virtually, and then you're not just reading the cliff notes or catching the replay. So if you want your name to carry weight, you have to do the quiet, consistent work of reputation building. You can't just throw up a bunch of opt-ins and automation. And that was my mistake, because I listened to a lot of coaches. Hey, whatever. I did the investment and that's what it was about, but it wasn't anything at the core. There was really, they'll talk about positioning, but there was nobody really talking about like, what does that really mean for me, especially for somebody who had so much experience coming in. What does that really mean for me? So I had to take a step back. Now, God told me to do this in 2020 when I was in Singapore, but did I listen? It took me all this time to get to this point. I had to go back to the rivers and the lakes I was used to. What did I do when I was a college professor? Well, even before a college professor, what was I doing in the doctoral space? and it was building my reputation. I didn't have any opt-ins at that time, and I didn't have anything automated. Now, of course, knowing what I know, and those of you who are in the career space, you do need these things. But even before you start focusing on things, it is about your reputation and how you position yourself with your authority. It's the quiet things, is where you're showing up. It is what you're contributing to. It is, how are you becoming a thought leader in this particular thing? And then the great thing about online, which didn't resonate with me, all these groups, all these, chats, and all these events that are happening virtually, you can literally build your reputation online from the comfort on your home. Now, I do suggest you go outside, okay? But you can start where you are and stop focusing so much on, I have to get this, just do this opt-in and just get this automation, and then it's going to magically work for me. No, it won't, because I got a bunch of opt-ins and I got a bunch of automations, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. You have a lot of them, and that's because you have a lot of the same stuff too. It's not working, and you don't need another funnel, another system, or another coach. It's you that needs to do the work. So of course, this is not a sprint. And I know you're going to be like, gosh, I was already successful with this, hurry up already. But where you got to, it took you years to get there. So why don't you think it's going to take, some time for you to, we'll talk about build your career and your business as well. Now, it may not take as long because now you get with people who can offer you shortcuts, support, strategy to catapult you, but it's still going to take some time. So you have to understand that positioning is not a sprint, but it is a pilgrimage. It is a journey. It is something that you could constantly and consistently do on a daily basis, because people are watching you, and they don't need any more polished off you, right? But they do need more presence. And I had to learn that myself. How you show up does matter. So I'm not saying like you just put on anything, come up with your face looking all crazy and things like that, because you wouldn't do that, in the real world. But you don't have to be this polished figure and thinking that you have to get all the things just right before you show up. You have to show up, and then those things will start to get refined and more polished. But it's better off if you show up and give your presence as well. So now I didn't do this last one, but I am going to do them. Let me know how you want this to go. I'm probably going to put them in my private Facebook group, but I am going to do some after hour things where I get into the nitty gritty of things. Now, out here is great. I want you to learn some things, but to really go take a deeper dive, we're going to do things about after hours. And in the after hours show, I'm going to unpack a lot more about the mindset I had to drop from academia. Although things were great, but there are some things that no longer worked from academia that I had to do in, the entrepreneur space. We'll talk about the hidden ego of overfunctioning and how I rebuilt, I'm working to rebuild as well, relationships and visibility without the proverbial burnout, right? So you will want to subscribe to this show, and the information is in the description box, or you can go to drvernitaglenn-white.com/remarkable shift, and then you'll get all the information and the insights, because that behind the scenes after hours is where the real calibration happens. But if you can't wait for the after hours show and you want something that you can do right now, even before you stop listening to this episode, if you're tired of performing and you're ready to position yourself for the next level, make sure you grab the Authority Builder Snapshot. I am so proud of what I created. This is where I've been like kind of in my brilliance lab, like what is the missing thing? What is something that, based on everything that I've heard over the last few years and over the last few months, that are really going to get people from just listening to a bunch of random things to really get into action. And it's the Authority Builder Snapshot, which is a quick, powerful diagnostic, more like an awareness tool to help you see where you are and what shifts you need to make. And as you answer 10 questions, and you're going to get a profile, you're going to get some insights, and you're going to get some next steps. And it's going to give you that clarity to say, oh my gosh, this is what I've been focusing on. I need to shift and do this. Or it's going to be like, oh my gosh, I am definitely on the right track. I just need to double down in this particular area. So the Authority Builder Snapshot, it is in the description, or you can go to drvernitaglenn-white.com/authority builder and get access to that resource. And then I would love to hear your insights, and it's going to be a lot of fabulous things that's going to come out of that. So make sure that you connect with me and let me know your takeaways from that. All right, so thank you so much for listening and learning with me. And remember, your shift isn't optional, but it is long overdue. And understand that power isn't given, it is something that you exude, it is something that you give off. It is your aura, it is your presence. People see it, not just something that you just say, I got power, right? So move like you've already claimed it. And remember to stay remarkable. And I will see you in the next shift. Until next time, bye.